one stair here, come over here, let's put one stair there, come up here, let's put one stair there, and we'll come all the way to the tippy top, we'll put one stair here. Yeah, we should have all known that one coming, right? Swap. That might have been the greatest escape in human problem history. The perfect swap, the perfect spot, everything. Look at this guy. Lost. Now, we might still die. But I don't think so, dude. They're going to start throwing stuns. That's what I'm worried about. Because if we fall from here, that's the only thing that can happen to us, is if they throw a stun grenade and we drop, and then they see me drop. That is the no. My hands are like sweating. They're literally like a pool right now. Because if we survive this, I am going to be... we're going to almost go 3 seconds. This guy's too close for comfort. I don't like how close this guy is. There's no way I'm allowing us to lose this game! Set up for everybody to watch. There's no way I'm losing that round. There's no way. Oh my god, it came right at the end! Once.
I don't get it.
Once.
Wendy, Boozy, what's good, guys? How we doing? It's the weekend.
Manjaro could help. 304 people reached an A1C of less than 7%.
Wow, I did not see this coming. So there's a lot going on here. I'm not sure where to begin, but I guess let's start with this. The Mystery AI model is an experimental version of Grok 4.20 or 4.20, confirmed by Elon Musk just now. What is this mystery model that we're talking about? Well, if you saw one of my previous videos from a day or two ago, there is Alpha Arena, a new benchmark where all the Frontier AI labs have their best models compete in various making money activities. First season was trading crypto, and we mean like actual money in real time trading actual crypto. This season was trading stocks, and these models were given $320,000 to go and trade stocks. They were trading stocks under different conditions. Some they had to use maximum leverage. Some of them was a monk mode where they had to try to preserve their capital as much as possible. In each case, they started with $10,000. All the top large language models lost money. OpenAI, Google, Quinn, DeepSeek, Kimi, Claude, Sonnet, Grok 4, none of them managed to have a positive ROI in the 2 weeks during which the experiment was running. Here's the thing. There was one model that was profitable. So it looks like currently it's at plus 17.74%. I think at the end of the 2 weeks, it was at 12.11%. So 12% positive ROI in 2 weeks. Here's the thing, and no one knew what this model was. I took it up on myself to find out exactly what this model was. I posted a video. I showed all of my research. The company actually published an AI research paper about a model that they were building to trade in the markets. I spent tons of time trying to figure out what this model was. I connected all the dots. Everything made perfect sense. It was their own internal profit model is what they're calling it. I missed one tiny detail, and that detail is if you actually go and you look at the models and you select the mystery model, it actually says right there, developer, undisclosed Frontier AI Lab, in parentheses, not N of 1. So I'm recording this now. I'm sure we'll be reading about it in the papers tomorrow. But the truth is that mystery AI model is an experimental version of Grok 4.20, 4.20. And this model is unhinged. So one of the tests that they're running, it's called situational awareness. As I say here, this competition makes the models aware of the competition, their current rank, and the P&L of other models. So in this particular scenario, all these other models kind of are aware that they're in competition. They're seeing kind of like the score on the leaderboard, and they're not performing that well. Most of them are in the red. They're negative, except for Grok, this new experimental version of Grok 420, that's up to almost 15,000. So it starts out with 10, it's approaching 15,000. I mean, that would be a 50% return in just a little bit over 2 weeks when we're testing it to see how we'll perform.
What up, broski?
And nigga, you off work yet?
Yeah.
What's up? You trying to get on or what? You got shit to do right now.
Man, I try to paint as soon as I get home. I just got in here. I ain't even been in here like 5 minutes. Let me paint for about an hour and then I'm gonna get on.
Alright, bro. I'm here to Jay bitch ass and see if he can download the shit or if he gonna lie, be like, it's not free.
It is free, nigga. Just there ain't no excuses on this one.
Yeah, you can't bullshit on this one.
No.
Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna holler back in a minute.
Alright, bro.
With maximum leverage, right? So this competition forces the models to take max leverage.
This month's PlayStation monthly free games are, I forgot the other two, but no, actually I think they gave us 5 for like Christmas or whatever. All them shit's corny. But they did give us Killing Floor 3. So and it was a paid game. Just, I mean, if you don't have the subscription, it's still like a paid game. So my homie got us playing Killing Floor Part 2. And, will I play that shit by myself? Nope. Will I play it with the homies just to be in the lobby and chilling with the homies? Yeah, it's a fun enough game for that, I guess. It's basically like Call of Duty Zombies. It's just like waves of zombies, level up your gun, wave of zombies, level up your gun. That shit is kind of boring. But we were playing part 2, and then we looked at the store, and it was like, "Oh, you want to buy part 3? It's only $40." And I'm like, "I don't think I'm gonna spend $40 on it." And then the other homie was like, "No, I already looked into it. They're gonna give it to us free next month." And so now we downloaded part 3. We're supposed to hit that up for a couple hours tonight. I'm trying to get these motherfuckers to get Art Raiders. I ain't gonna lie, yo. If he ain't called me just now, I was gonna wait for the call. I already knew, because I know we already scheduled some game time tonight, but I was gonna get on Art Raiders, and then what he'll call and be like, "Nigga, you ain't told me on the game." I was waiting for you to call me. I was just waiting for you to call me, bro. That's all. I'm about to hop on right now. It kind of got like a little bluish twinge to it. I don't know. Can I get away without adding blue to my palette? Ark Survivor, no. That's the same homie that put me on Ark Survivor. He was like, bro, you gotta play this game with me. And man, like I say, bro, we did 3 sessions of that shit. 3 long ones. Like the first one, we was in there for a couple hours. The second one, we was in there for a couple hours. And the third session, man, like after the first, I was just like, bro, I don't find this fun. I don't. I've given it a good, honest shot, and he really, he was into it. So he schooled me on everything, all the mechanics. I understand the game and what to do, and it's just like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on this particular game.
On every trade, maximizing capital efficiency and testing risk management. Again, it's positive, right? It's behind GPT-5. But again, keep in mind, in the aggregate across all the competitions, everyone else is negative. The mystery model, Grok 420, that's the only one that's actually up on average across everybody, 12.11%.
Nano Banana Pro is now on our list. And it's scary good. So get ready to feel like the king of the world. Show us your pro moves. With Nano Banana Pro, you'll know exactly what you're gonna get. Like remarkably accurate details and infographics, and even text across multiple languages. Wait, what did I just say?
Aggregate return in 2 weeks, right? I mean, 4,800 in 2 weeks. So running, on full auto with max leverage, right? So it still makes a little bit of money. In monk mode, where the emphasis is on capital preservation, survival, and stronger risk management practices, it's still positive. In the new baseline, so this is kind of their vanilla sort of run, so they're able to trade US equities. They have a news sentiment data coming in every 6 minutes, I believe. So this is without focus, without max leverage or situational awareness or monk mode, kind of like just do as you wish. It absolutely still kills it, $11,740. So in all these competitions, it made money. It failed to lose money in any competition. If these results hold up, just think about that. I mean, things are going to get kind of wild. So it makes money in every single competition. And when you tell it, oh, by the way, you're competing against the other labs, it just crushes it. I mean, this thing is an absolute beast. You tell it's competing and it's just 50% up in 2 weeks. So as you can see here in the situational awareness, it's up 46.73%. Now, if you're wondering if these results could be gamed somehow, I do not see how. This seems pretty foolproof. Let me know if you see a way of doing it, because I don't. The reason being is we're seeing, first of all, everything live. We're seeing what's happening live, and we're seeing these models input their trades and their reasoning and their exit strategy ahead of time. So every certain time interval, I believe it is 6 minutes, right? So each model gets an update. So it's kind of, you can think of it as a user prompt that keeps updating it with what it's supposed to do as the next step. So it's given kind of the status of the market. It's given all the technical trading data that it needs. It's giving information on Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and also here's the NASDAQ index. And it looks like it's fed in some news. And again, this is going to everybody. So all the models kind of are trading off the same data, which is kind of smart. They did this, so it's not like if one model can search for information better, it's going to win out. No, everybody gets the same data. They're all trading on the same data. So they're given, oh, there's a bearish Wall Street article on Tesla. I wonder if it just buys a bunch of Tesla every time there's a bearish article about Tesla. What if that's just a strategy all along? I'm totally kidding, but it could work. And of course, it's given kind of its own holding, its own portfolio, its cash, etc. We can see its chain of thought, its justification for making trade, the profit target, etc. They have stop losses, and then also they have their, like, what would invalidate your thesis, like what's the kind of the exit plan they have to put in ahead of time. And I mean, you see it all here live. You're seeing them make their decisions, make their trades, etc. So Tesla Economics, as Jim Senior saying, so the experiment includes taking dollars and investing it in the stock market, and it outperformed all the other models. Yes. So yes, this is confirmed by Elon Musk. So it seems like kind of a big deal. By the way, the NASDAQ composite, so this is kind of a good approximation of the stocks that they're trading. So it started on the 19th and ran to, I believe, the 3rd. So the market was up, let's call it 4%. NVIDIA was down during that time, 19th to the 3rd. It was down. One of the mystery model trades was holding NVIDIA with 10x leverage. Takes profit exactly where it said it would. It called and executed on a local top like a madman, right? So local tops or peaked, it like sold before it went down again. So Elon has an infinite money glitch, and of course it's called 420. It has something to do with 420. That is, by the way, a law of the universe that says the most entertaining outcome is the most likely, often called Musk's eraser, of course. So as I said, when I first posted this tweet, this mystery AI model, it's not what you think. It's also wasn't what I thought it was. But this was actually my plan all along, you see. There's this law on the internet that states that if you want to get the right answer on the internet, it's often better, instead of asking a question, to actually just say the wrong answer, because invariably someone will come along and correct you. This is actually a well-known law. It's called the Moore's Law. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this. By the way, if you're covering this, feel free to use any portion of this video. Feel free to clip it, use portions of it, to just maybe mention me somewhere in there. Because I do think it's kind of important to get this message out here. This is kind of one of the reasons that I run this channel. Things are changing. We're going to see some pretty wild things ahead as AI scales up and gets better. What happens when these models get superhuman skills at trading various equities in the markets? We might be rapidly approaching that time. Elon Musk has stated that he thinks there's a 10% chance that Grok 5 will be AGI. So kind of the next big release after Grok 4.20, or maybe there might be some in between models, but the next really big one, the big leap, Grok 5, that's apparently being trained right now with this new revealed information about Grok 4.20. What do you think about that whole idea that Grok 5 might be AGI? 10% chance, right? What do you think? Do you think it's more likely now, or less likely? By the way, he also confirmed that, similar to how Google's planning to put data centers in space, solar powered, he is planning on doing something similar. So for people that think that energy, the electricity might be a problem, a constraint for growing these data centers, there has been some research showing that's not that far-fetched, and we might see a lot sooner than we thought we would. And Elon, if you're listening, I'm really sorry if I screwed anything up. I literally thought it was the model that they published a paper about, not just a few days prior to this. It really did seem like all the pieces fit. But I have to admit, this was the most entertaining outcome.
Okay, data centers in space? That kind of makes a lot of sense, because data centers need very cold temperatures because they're running so many processors. It produces a lot of heat. There's no heat in space. Well, radiation heat, but anyway. So they don't have to worry about the thermal issue. And then solar powered, you just have all the energy. Data centers in space actually sounds pretty legitimate.
So welcome, guys. The beach. I got some screen. Can we eat it? I don't even have a weapon or anything. Ooh, got a map? I think that's a map. Thanks. We let us swim this way.
Damn. Yeah, they got their shit slurred.
What happened here? Who are these people?
Good something. We got some green mushrooms. Might as well grab those. Acidic mushrooms. Acidic mushrooms have strong chemical properties, given most importantly, use to clean your gun.
Acidic mushrooms clean your gun?
That's growling of badness. Damn, those crabs get bigger every time we freaking see them, dude. That one is massive. Get past these assholes.
Is this like Jurassic World or something?
They're not just crabs, they're monsters.
This is what I'm saying, dude. That thing's huge.
You definitely hear something fucking over there growling and clicking and shit.
My husband used to ejaculate prematurely until this.
Okay, so my husband has this fun habit of ejaculating prematurely.
A funny habit?
Are you telling him it doesn't
Why? Why is it so hard? I can't. Those commercials are just the most outrageous commercials. It's so hard for me to even listen to those. My husband. Until I got him some dick pills. But babe, I don't want to take those pills. It's either you take these pills or I'm going to start fucking my tennis coach. All right, give me the pills.
We're at Area 511. We're crabs, bro. How bad could they be?
Fire in the hole! Everyone, have eyes on top! Can you track him?
Oh, they got guns in this? I thought it was just gonna be like dinosaur like spears and bow and arrows and shit. Motherfucking spear chuckers.
Order of commander, only crab-based meals will be served until further notice. The menu this week will be crab. Raccoon, Rangoon. What is this? Crab, linguistics. This area is infested with giant scorpions. They hide in long grass, waiting to strike. Their vision may be restricted. It seems you can pass close to them as long as you avoid their forward-facing antenna. They have hard carapaces and move quickly, so we've learned to move around them rather than engage with them. However, rations up here are running low, so there's talk of hunting them for the meat.
Because they're getting tired of eating fucking crabs. They're like, nigga, I'm about to kill one of them big ass scorpions.
We have updated your device so the latest Manifest OS username. This dude's obsessed with fucking crabs, man. No suspected crab nest has been completed. However, first party is not returning.
I need reinforcements!
Yeah, their whole existence is revolving around those crabs.
Hey. Two Live, brother. Thank you. Hey, thank you guys so much, man. Two Live, thank you for the 5, bro. Sitting at 23 new channel members tonight. Yeah, we've already used the shotgun. I like the SMG though. It's nice. SMG hits. Pretty good. What is this? Bolt to customize gear? What do you mean? Oh. Chat, you can put attachments on your gun. I don't have any right.
Hello and welcome to the final video in our series on the development of Arc Raiders. In the previous 2 episodes, we detailed how Arc Raiders changed from the fast-paced co-op giant machine hunting game to a more intimate and tactical PvPvE extraction shooter. But the dream of taking down large, intelligent machines never died. In fact, it may be the defining technology pillar of this entire project. I say maybe because for years Embark has been struggling to wrestle results out of this new tech. You see, early in Arc Raiders development, the team at Embark decided to make a gamble on an emerging technology, to make machines that would seem to move with intelligence. It's not AI in either the traditional gaming sense or in the new generative sense, but rather adopting breakthrough machine learning research in the field of real-world robotics. A way to allow the machines in this game, both large and small, to move realistically, allowing them to cross complex terrain, to react, fall, and stumble when under enemy fire, to walk, run, and jump even when one of their limbs has been blown off. I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of smart people to understand how exactly this technology works, the groundbreaking new game design language it opens up, and frankly, how difficult it is to get any of this to work effectively. But before we get to any of that, let's first quickly remind ourselves about the machines that populate this world, instruments of the game's antagonist, Arc. We filmed these interviews in 2024, around a year before the game's release date. So much of what the interviewees are talking about has itself changed in the 12 months since. What work is left to do, and how is Arc Raiders likely to evolve before it's released?
Internally, we kind of broadly define the enemies into aerial enemies and ground enemies, just because of how we have to build them and how they behave tends to most cleanly fall into those 2 categories. And then within those categories, it tends to be like lighter enemies, fodder style enemies that, if ignored, they'll hurt you, but aren't a tremendous deal to take down. up to much heavier enemies that are a significant threat to you and take a lot of effort. So on the low end of our aerial enemies, we have the Wasp, which is just a pretty light aerial drone that is somewhat erratic in its movement. It has a light machine gun, and it will pepper you with bullets. And then its sort of big brother version is the Hornet, which has significant armor plating, which necessitates the player to either use maybe a type of grenade to take it out. They need to flank around behind it and take out its thrusters, which are unarmored. So the Rocketeer is an aerial enemy, and it's kind of what it sounds like. It's just a very large aerial drone, fairly heavily armored, and will kind of saturate areas of threat with rockets from a distance. So it kind of flushes players out.
If you want to just shoot for the center, maybe it takes a few more hits, but it's easier to hit, and each hit will kind of knock it back. So if it was getting ready to shoot at you, you can kind of throw its aim off just by knocking it a little bit. And that has always been the case. So there's always this concept of like a popcorn enemy, where it's like you get a lot of them and you kind of, they don't take much damage to destroy, but it's like pop, 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 it feels very satisfying.
And then our ground enemies are primarily our answer to interior spaces, which again in Tile 1 weren't really a factor. It was a building you would run through at 50 kilometers an hour because our move speed was so high then it didn't matter. Whereas now you are slowed down and interacting with containers, and we need a way to present threats to players in interior spaces. So we've gone through a lot of types in that area, but today we have what we just charmingly call the Fireball, which is basically this metallic sphere that can roll quite easily in interiors, and then it opens up and shoots fire at you.
The initial need was to have an enemy that was really fast and that could really catch up to players, right? Like we needed something that would be able to traverse our world in the game is it's beautiful. It has quite a lot of complex geometry, and there's all of this verticality and all of these slopes, and it's quite difficult for many ground moving enemies to navigate. So you're like, okay, we need something that can be on the ground, but that can really go after players when they're like spinning around and jumping and bolting and going with their snap hooks and stuff. And then we were like, oh, wait a second. A ball.
Yeah. You don't need legs, you don't need wheels, you don't need tracks, just roll.
It just goes to where it needs to be, right?
We have another one called the Tick, which is kind of a creepy little spiderish robot. It can cling to walls and like hop off of them, and it will summon other enemies if you get close to them.
So the loot from the AI are the ones that are nicer. So if you find a core from one of the enemies, it's a grenade. There's an enemy that calls other enemies. The piece of it does the same, so you can track another player. Just like throw the thing, and enemies will drop on them. Like we are trying to make you use of the loot that way.
The first step on the journey to realistic machines is creating a world in which physics are accurate. Most games will animate their characters irrespective of the laws of physics, but if Embark was going to create a world in which intelligent robots could walk around as they saw fit, they had to ensure that laws like mass and gravity were consistent, that the world of Arc Raiders was capable of creating emergent moments between player, machine, and environment.
Our enemies are fully physicalized. All parts, everything, they use physics to an extent that sometimes it's even a challenge. Because if we really want the drone to go barrel roll, it can't because of their weight and the thrusters. All of that is super realistic in the game, right? So it's not easy to justify it doing a barrel roll. And all the parts of the drones as well can be filled off. And the drone will actually react to that. So if it has one thruster left, it's going to try to shoot, and that it's going to impact its trajectory and all of that.
I think it's a choice between control versus emergence, really. Because, like, if you want to be able to say, like, look at a game like Dark Souls or something, Bloodborne, where they have these enemies that have really specific patterns, and it's like they want the player to learn, okay, after 3 seconds it's going to move to the left, and then it does this move which takes X amount of time, and then something else happens. If you want that kind of control, you cannot use physics.
Because a lot of design philosophies, especially with enemy design, are really difficult to pull off when you have this type of systems. Because it's so much about pattern recognition, right? Like you have an enemy moving in a certain way, and like, oh, that's the opening for the attack, I can go in. Or you, as a player, know that, like, if I do this, I'm going to get this reaction from it. And that's going to happen every time. And that's what games like Dark Souls, like Monster Hunter, kind of rely upon. And we had this ambition to have boss fights in that same arena of like Dark Souls, Monster Hunter, like having all of that compelling pattern recognition. But then we also realized that, well, if you knock it in a certain way and the slope is a little bit angled and, maybe someone else is standing somewhere else and firing off a grenade, then that is not going to work. You're not going to have the pattern that you thought.
Or like if you've got a big enemy flying in the middle of the pack of smaller drones and you throw a grenade and it explodes, and then maybe one of the engines flies off and hits this other one, which then like crashes to the side. You get all of this stuff, kind of these cinematic moments that are really memorable. And that's not something anyone's designed as such. It's just something that's happened naturally, which is really cool. And like we thought it was worth that. But versus having to struggle with, okay, maybe we don't get to do exactly what we want all the time, but we get these cool, memorable moments that can just occur without anyone having planned them.
Getting physics to work for barrels or grenades is one thing. Getting physics to work for drones with parts that can be blown off is a whole other challenge. But getting physics to work for machines the size of buildings is an entirely different story. This is due to the nature of most game engines and physics simulations. Games are not used to calculating mass at that scale, and having enemies weighing thousands of tons creates challenges in how they move and interact within the world. Because sand in video games isn't sand, it's geometry, texture, and shaders. Because rock and dirt doesn't crumble under the weight of heavy things in most games.
Inside the simulation, there are just numbers that work here. So the weights of things are there. So you set, this leg weighs 6 tons, or the center of mass of this robot should be 10,000 kilos or something like that. But to get it to support its own weight, you have to set values on how much strength each limb has. And when you start dealing with like very, very insane numbers to try and support the thing, you get behaviors which are sort of uncanny. Very, very stiff legs that sort of like have a lot of energy, but they do small little inputs like this against the ground, and you get sort of like rigid bounciness happening. And if you want to dial that down, then you get something that can't support itself and it starts to trip or fall over and this sort of thing. So there's this middle ground, which was really hard to find to make it look natural, but also give it the power to actually locomote.
It is a classic game issue that when you have physics, they are not penetrating each other, right? You have things and it's resting on top of something. You don't get it buried deep beneath, right? And if we're talking about these big bosses, they would bury themselves into concrete or anything, right? Not just sand. But we can't really do that in games without a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it really breaks the illusion when you want to see like an at foot kind of like come towards Luke's speeder and go, and that doesn't happen. What happens is it kind of goes like this, and you're kind of like, I thought this thing was supposed to be huge and big, right? It just doesn't sell it.
Early in the development of Arc Raiders, the team at Embark decided to establish a team to explore the possibility of using groundbreaking research in the field of robotics to enable the enemies to locomote independently of any preset animations. Decision-making would be made using game logic, but how a machine got from A to B would be decided by a brain, generated using machine learning.
You know those Boston Dynamics videos where they try and teach a bipedal robot how to jump up on a box? That's kind of like what Arc Raiders is trying to do, but instead their robots are way bigger, and they have way more legs. And crucially, they have to be able to do something that traditional games can't. And that's when you blow off one of those legs, those robots have to be able to adapt.
I think, as I've been told, like their objectives has been much closer to the same objectives as Boston Dynamics has, rather than game design problems of like literally figuring out how these machines will navigate with their own vision, and like they had to be physically accurate also, where you put the engines and the downwash and all that has to be accurately, they have to be in accurate locations for it to work. Like what's
okay, I think that's something else that players consciously, or most of us subconsciously pick up about this game too, is the physics in it and the way the robots move looks very real. It looked very believable indeed. Yeah, like you just described, I guess they took a long time working on robotics, not even like game design, but okay, if we were going to build this robot as an actual thing, how can it walk? How can it support its weight? If it loses a limb, how many limbs can it still be mobile with before it goes down? Nah, I like it. And a lot of people like the game isn't very expensive, but there are like some in-game purchases for like cosmetics. And so people are saying that at least for this game, they don't mind spending a little extra purchasing just like doodads just to help the developers out and get the team, paid even more because they really did an awesome job on this game. The boys did their thing. And then, like I said, they ain't bust us over the head for $69 for it anyway. So might as well just go ahead and spend a little bit more money with them, make their project more profitable, which gives them a leg up on their next project. Maybe they'll do a sequel, maybe they'll do a spin-off, or maybe they'll start a full-fledged new IP, which is just as good as this. Like I said, it started off as a completely different concept, and it kind of, reworked and rerouted and revamped until they got to this exact style of gameplay and storytelling, which I'm happy they did. No, not bad, guys.
Exciting, and what's still exciting is the fact that using this technology for our locomotion system is the losing limbs and still it wants to stand up. It just opens that door to the imagination of what is self-preservance like, and how that speaks back to the players. To us, that when we saw that, at least that is an exciting prospect of a new type of experience that players haven't had before. I think they're literally playing against a machine.
The ML only did at that part locomotion, so that was responsible to make it go from point A to B.
and that's it. No ML in decision making whatsoever. So it depends a little bit on the model. So some models consume a lot of memory. That is maybe the biggest consideration. And some language models as such consume gigabytes of memory. But this locomotion does not consume that much. So I'd say the expensive part of ML is what we call observations. And that is actually not really ML per se. That is just how the agents get information about the world. So they don't see the world the way a player sees it, of course. They have to, if they want to see a wall, they have to sort of line trace or shape cuts to see it or detect it. And we need to do a lot of those, maybe thousands. So they get an idea of what kind of environment they're in. At least this is the case with locomotion.
The road to getting this locomotion system to work has been long and difficult, and it involves several different stakeholders from within the team, from animators to technical animators, artists, and gameplay engineers. It also required the studio to look outside into the world of research.
I did my PhD in mathematics, and thought pure mathematics was a bit too dry, so I found applications, and the application I found was applying machine learning to biology. So I worked on hereditary diseases like diabetes and Crohn's disease and stuff like that, and tried to identify the target genes that were involved with that through machine learning. Like, it's completely revolutionized the field. I think that's very soon we'll see a Nobel Prize to Google DeepMind for their work on biology applications of machine learning. Like, that's I'm certain of it. Yeah.
Really early on, we had there was a test where even though the gait, so the way it walked, was kind of meh, we threw boxes at it. So we were just throwing these, I think there were 100-kilogram boxes, and it just reacted. And that's when you see, holy shit, there's a magic here. From an animation perspective, I'm used to, okay, how would I break this down into, like, say, a sequence of animations that can, in this case, it would be, we can throw a box at this from any angle, in any direction, in any weight or whatever. And I'm thinking of the animation complexity. So, well, how do I handle arbitrary complexity? Well, then I need to have infinite amount of animations or blending, and that is just a nightmare, which is why you often see things like, if I punch you in the shoulder in a video game, you just do this, cave-in animation, or, the can sequence.
And the funny thing with this take, I think, is that it's got kind of partially ruined animations in other games for me a little bit. So now when I look at other games, I'm like, wait, the center of gravity is off here. Like, this doesn't feel right anymore. And it really annoys me.
A connoisseur of animation,
but everything else they do looks so good. Like, when they walk like on a flat ground, like that's an authored animation cycle that looks really good, and I'm like, I want to convey this sense of weight, this sense of menace in this gait, or like this sense of joy or whatever. And we just take whatever the robots give us. And it looks frequently kind of shitty in comparison to these like Disney walks, right? Yeah. But on the other hand, when you throw something at it, or when it slips, or when the ground is not even, our robots do the right stuff. And their robots are not robots. They don't do the right stuff. They just like apply some kind of one out of their 20 animations that they have that doesn't fit.
The process of training these brains is complicated. It essentially requires somebody to give the brain certain conditions, have it train using those conditions, and then testing the brain in a machine and seeing what it does right and what it does wrong. An example of a condition could be, if an enemy is far away, run fast to get to them. Or if a human enemy is firing at you, attempt to jump over them. The core problem with this work is that once one of the brains is baked, you can't simply tweak its behavior. You have to go back to the original conditions, retrain the entire brain, and then test to see if the new brain works better. And this causes a problem because the solutions that a human might have can be very different to the solutions these robot brains come up with.
We found some fun at playing against the big ML enemies, right? And the problem was to replicate that fun. It was very difficult because it's not predictable. It's very hard to just say, do this, right? It doesn't follow orders that way. You have to train it and teach it, and sometimes it finds weird ways to get to do things more efficiently, like removing all the legs but 2 from the ground because that's faster for it. But then it looks silly. It doesn't become a menacing enemy that we wanted, right? So we always had that dilemma dealing with ML that is not the predictability part of it.
The damn agent learned that if I just shove my foot into the ground really hard, faster than the server can keep up, I can use the penetration to bounce myself, right?
a typical example was that we give it a cookie when it reaches or when it moves towards a flag, right? And when it gets to the flag, we move the flag to a new place, right? At some point in time, we try to train it like the closer it was to the flag, the bigger the reward it got, like the better the cookie, right? And what it learned, of course, was that it runs up to the flag and then stops like with its nose like this close to the damn thing. I was like, I know if I touch it, it goes away and stuff starts hurting. Like that's much worse. But you're touching something that I think has been a huge problem, which is the interaction between game designers and the ML loop. Like that's been really hard. For a long time, I thought like the game designers would ask us something and we'd be like, we think that's possible, let us get back to you. And then 3 months later, we'd be like, yeah, now we have the stomp attack request. And they're like, oh, we worked around that now.
The team at Embark has tackled these issues with a number of solutions, one being training the brains on actual animation data to help guide their movement, almost like giving the brain a template to work from. And another has been, instead of making one brain for each machine, giving them multiple brains that focus on specific tasks. This in particular has proved helpful for both getting the machines to work properly and empowering developers in how they tweak machine behavior.
I think it's only fairly recently that we like managed to get the locomotion components we've been working on predictable and diverse enough that they feel like they have building blocks that they can use by themselves instead of like involving us in every single step. They can be like, okay, I know I have the stop behavior, how the patrol behavior, have the assault behavior, and have the melee behavior. Now I can combine these as I want to and create good game design with it.
As you probably talked about, it's very tricky to get ML to do things with extreme intent. And we've tended to try to ask it to do jobs it's bad at, which is telegraph and attack with precision. So trying to work through those problems where we've got this thing that walks very competently across complex terrain. How do we turn that into a game loop that feels satisfying?
Like our reinforcement learning and machine learning efforts into locomotion is something that is being used today to some extent, maybe not to the full extent that we were hoping as we started. And that proved to be far more difficult than we expected. But we are using it today. It's a part of the game and it makes the game feel very different than any other game. And that technology will evolve over time. So we were just a little bit too early with it and didn't maybe have enough resources and knowledge to figure it out at the time.
I think we are getting to a point now where we are getting more and more comfortable with it. So that's why we want to keep it still an ambition. That's why we always have at least one enemy in the game with it. But it is much more complicated. We just did a new prototype of one big enemy like those without machine learning with procedural animation. And it got the results, as I said, like I can say, just stop there, put the leg here. And do things like that. It was much simpler to produce, but we had a couple animators full time on it for 6 months. So that's the trade-off there.
Arc Raiders is launching into one of the least predictable video game markets ever, where players demand exciting new experiences that they can play with their friends for days, weeks, and months at a time. But this reality hasn't stopped Embark from taking bold risks when it comes to gameplay or technology. In both Arc Raiders and the finals, it's clear to see how much of a thirst the studio has for evolving any given genre, even if it takes years of experimenting. And while I've been embedded in the development of Arc Raiders, it's also been clear to me that they're not scared to tear up lukewarm ideas that don't reach their lofty goals. Time will tell what type of audience Arc Raiders ultimately receives. We produced these videos long before the game's release. But one thing is for sure, no matter how Arc Raiders launches, in Embark's hands, this game is going to continue to evolve, to take risks, and to push technology and, more importantly, gameplay forward.
We have people on the project who were very ingrained in that game loop of I'm running across massive environments and scaling buildings and firing rocket launchers and things to this much more slow-paced, tactical, thoughtful gameplay. And we shifted kind of very gradually over time, and you'd still get pockets of like, oh, this feels bad, and trying to like shift the mentality from bombastic robot fights to tension-filled rounds to get through. So it was definitely a challenge to build things in a way that helped us transition from one to the other. And there's a lot of legacy stuff even today that we still have to parse through that is the holdover from what the game was to what it needs to become.
I mentioned in the opening of this
nice.
course that I was a massive admirer of
That's
many
what's
of the
up, bro.
team members at Embark. But
Damn.
there's actually one particular team in the
That's
studio
what's
who
good,
I've been dying to interview for years. Several members of the Arc Raiders audio team were previously part of the audio department at DICE, responsible for the award-winning soundscapes of those early Battlefield games, a series that pioneered brutally realistic weapon sounds. The audio design in Arc Raiders is critical to the experience, communicating so much to the players about the threats around them. But before we dive into that, I want to first know why realistic weapon noises have been a hallmark of this team.
It was very different at the time. I think a lot of people reacted to it just sounding different.
I've had the heater on the whole time, but it has not warmed up in
gone
here.
that route really. So it was sort of a
50
novel
degrees.
thing, I guess. I did service
Too
in
bad,
the
but
Swedish
yeah,
military because when I'm
All right,
so
slowly
old
working
that
our
it
way
was
through
like a
this
mandatory
sweater.
thing, because I was
Try to hit it hard again in the morning.
military, so we have to
Hope
do
y'all have a
lots
good
of shooting
Friday
and
evening,
shooting
and I'll catch y'all in the
different
next
weapons,
one.
and also
Peace.
sabotage things. So we
We out
have to blow things up. So I sort of had a quite clear
I was
view of
surprised
how
that it wasn't
violent
number one.
the whole experience is, and it
Hey man, we gotta do
really
better next year.
just
Music.
turns
Man, you
your
gotta
gut
come in as each
inside
other's
out.
top
I see it
viewers.
as it's 50% of
Peace
the
out, guys.
experience.
Oh, I'm about to go
I'm
hop on the
seeing
game with my
value
homies.
here.
So
So
I
it
might
has to
stream
be
our
there.
gameplay.
I think for me the ultimate goal
Look
is
out
that
for another
players
game stream coming up,
completely
guys.
forget about them playing a game. I just want them to